Hi, welcome back to the third and final part, hopefully the final part of our recreation of Zork in JavaScript. Now, this is what we were left off. This is where we left off last time. Welcome to Zork. You're in a dark, cold place. You see a light to the north, and you hear the sound of running water to the west. And we can type in north, or we can go east here, for example. And the game progresses. Now, what I want to do is I want to implement different commands. Okay, so this will give you the structure so that you can go on and implement as many commands as you want. Now, for example, they haven't seen you yet. What do you do? Maybe you can implement a talk command. So talk and then talk trolls or talk to something, right? If you look at different various LucasArts or these sort of pickup point and click games, like Monkey Island, for example, they have pick up, they have examine, they have go, move, these ones, right? Lots of commands. So these are quite necessary unless it'd be kind of a boring game if all you're doing is go north, south, east, and west. It'd be better if we can implement some commands. So what we can do is we have this rather useless switch case here, right? There's a much more efficient way of doing this. But what we're going to do is let's get rid of this, okay? Well, we've cut it away. We're going to use it later. What we want to do is have a function that handles the user input. Now, it's not strictly necessary for me to put this in its own function, but I think it's just good practice. So we can, if we put all of the information, all of the code we want to execute here in this part, it's going to get very big and very messy, very difficult to read. So player input, and we need to pass in an argument. The argument can be value, okay? So we go over here, let's write that function, player input, okay? And, right. Now, one thing to note. So here, this is absolutely necessary that I call this value, okay? Because we are passing this variable into here. So effectively, what we're doing is saying, computer, please go to the function player input and take this with you, okay? Now here, we can call this value if we want, but it's not necessary to call it value. Now this confused me when I first started learning programming. I remember I was trying to learn how to program Python. I ended up leaving a comment on the author of the book that I was reading. He's read it to try and solve this, and it was very confusing. It's just it's a bit complex, I suppose, for a beginner to understand. But really, all you need is someone to tell you, look, this value. This is necessary. Here, you can call it anything you want. We call this unicorns, rainbows, anything you want to call it is fine. For our case, we're going to call it input. So it's still the same value that is being passed over, okay? But we can just call it anything we want to make it a bit more readable or, more generic. Now, what we're going to do. So how is the command going to work? Okay, so instead of typing in north, what I want us to do is type in go north, okay? So first we need to check for go, because maybe later you can have pick up sword or talk goblin, right? Maybe there'll be different commands you can do. So how we're going to do this is we are going to have a variable, and we're going to call this the command, okay, equals. Now what we can do is we can break up this into segments. So this is being passed as a string, okay? So we get the value as a string. But what we want to do is use command equals input, okay? So the value we passed in, which is the user input.value, right? Dot split. What split does is it takes a string and it converts it into an array, okay? So the argument you pass into split is how you want the string to be segmented, right? Or segmented, however you stress that word. So right now we've passed in nothing, okay? We just put quotation marks and nothing. What that would do will return an array with G-O space N-O-R-T-H, which sometimes is perfect, is exactly what you want. Sometimes you want an array that has the individual elements of a string, so you can take away all the vowels, for example, you can manipulate it, or you can do like a Pig Latin game or something, right? But for us, we just want the first thing. We want the words separated, not the individual letters. So to do that, we can separate by the space, okay? So we do that. This will return go north or go south or anything, okay? So what we want to do is we want to access the 0 index. Now remember, arrays in computer programming, in JavaScript, in other languages this may be different, but you begin counting at 0. You do not begin counting at 1. I know humans, we count 1, 2, 3, 4. No, a computer is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this index, okay, so an array has indices, right? This would be 0. So that's what we want. We want to check that. Now, this is one way you can do it. This is the more efficient way of doing it. It means that, okay, take input, please split it, and then return the 0 index of that array, okay? Now, a longer way of doing it, we could have done this, okay? We could have done input equals input.split, okay? So we have mutated the original string, and we could have done var command equals input 0. Right, so this does exactly the same thing. It's just more effort. Here we have changed input, okay? We've changed it into an array, and now we're saying please return the 0 index of that array. Now, we're not going to do this. We're just going to do this, okay? So this is store in command the 0 index of this new array that's created, and then forget it. Then forget that we've created this new array, okay? So what do we need to do? Well, we need to have a switch case, I guess, right? So let's bring that back from before, from the dead. So instead of looking for the value, this is not going to be the case, it'd be command, right? So we're going to be checking all of the commands. And we're not going to have north, south, east, west, right? This is now redundant because we're going to have go, and then we can send the direction over here to be checked. So let's do that now. So we'll be checking for command. If the command is go, right? Let's get rid of all of this. So if the command is go, change room, but we don't need to change room north. What do we need to do? We need to pass in a direction. Okay, so direction can be exactly the same thing. So go, and the direction is going to be at the first index, okay? And if it's an invalid direction, it will be handled here. You cannot go this way. You cannot go that way, okay? So change room. So we need to have another variable, no? Excuse me, var. Okay, so var command, so direction, input split 0, but instead of 0, what we want is input split 1, okay? And now we need to pass in change room direction. Now remember here, just because I've called it direction here, I could have called this anything I wanted, okay? But I just chose to keep it the same for readability's sake and for my own sanity. So here we go. Go, and then we pass in direction to change room, and it will look in room's current room directions. If it is there, if it is not there, it will tell us we cannot go that way. Now let's just go and check if we have any errors. It's very possible with me programming. Okay, so let's try go north. You arrive to a clearing, you see a lighthouse to the north. Go east. Okay, now let's just try west. Invalid command, okay? Go west. Excellent. So what else can we do? What else could we implement with this? How about we can check, how about we can list the possible commands that are there so we can have like a help function? All right, let's do that. Case help. Okay, and simply we can just put show help, right? Show help and then break. So let's quickly create a function up here called show help, right? And what can help do? Well, I suppose with help, what you want to do is you want to show them the different commands that they can put in, right? So let's store the different commands we have. Commands. Let's store it in an array up here, an array. Okay, so go, let's say pick up, and let's say look. Say look and say talk. Okay? So go pick up, look, talk. Show help. So what can show help do? Well, we want to go on the game text, right? So we're going to append something to the game text. Let's see, what can we append? How about we append, here are the possible commands, right? Colon, space. And what we could do is we could do a loop. So we're going to append this. What we could do is we could do a loop like so. So let's have a unordered list tag, okay? So we're going to have a list of the commands, an unordered list tag, and we're going to also, at the bottom here, close that tag. Okay, trust me. Now here, we're going to have a for loop. Commands.length I++. Okay, we have here. And then what we want to do, put this here. So unordered list, and we have a list item. Okay. Don't worry, I'm going to explain what I'm doing exactly in a moment. Do not worry if you're suddenly lost. So what do we want to do? Well, that'd be commands I. Now, I will explain this in 1 second. Let's just see if this is correct. Okay, so we can go north still and help. Here are the possible commands, and it hasn't done anything. Why hasn't it done anything? Let's have a look. Game text.append commands I. I'm being stupid. Let's check the error log. Commands is not defined. Script JS18. Okay. That is because there are 3 M's in this. Right, there we go. Always make sure you spell your variables correctly. Okay, so help, and there we go. Here are the possible commands: go, pick up, look, help, talk. I don't like the fact it's not formatted correctly, but that can be solved, I guess, by just having a p tag. My amazing skills here with HTML and CSS. Well, no CSS. There you go, that works. Okay. So let me explain what I just did. Show help. So here, hopefully this makes sense to you now. Case help. So therefore, if the command is help, we go to show help. Show help. Now, all I'm doing really is I'm building HTML documents. HTML tags. The markup, but just in a kind of more complicated way. So we're appending on the page a paragraph tag, and here are the possible commands. Then another paragraph tag. An unlisted, unsorted, unlisted list. Oh, my mind's gone. A UL, right? Anyway, a UL tag. And then here we have a for loop. Just in case you don't know, you can't quite remember the for loop syntax. This first part, you just you set your variable, the counter, basically. I is going to be the counter, the incrementer. You can think of it as I. We're going to start at 0 because we want to start counting at the 0 index, and then 1, then 2, then 3. And this is how long the loop will run for. So the loop will run until we reach commands.length. And here is the incrementer. So I++ means every single time it's going to go up by 1. So game text.append li plus commands I. Okay. So this is going to look in the commands array, and for every single increment, it's going to print what is out there. So we start at 0, so this is command 0, goes up here, go. 0, commands, this will then go up to 1. var is I equals 1, commands I, 1, pick up, look, talk, etc. What we could have done is I could have just literally copied this and hard-coded, okay, commands, well, I could have just written the commands, okay, list, go, pick up, look. But what this does is, if we change anything here, this will automatically update. We don't need to go and painstakingly reconstruct our show help function. Okay, it's just going to update automatically. So to prove that point, I can add anything I want here. Let's see what else would be a logical thing to do. I don't know, fly. Not that logical, really. Cast spell. Let's just give it as cast. Give it as one word. Okay, so refresh. help. Here are your possible commands, and you see here it's listing fly and cast. So I didn't need to do anything else apart from just edit this array up here, which is what we like. We like things to be automated and flexible. We don't want to make it all rigid. That's what she said. Right. So go and help. Let's see, maybe what we would want as well, in a similar fashion. So imagine we have a pickup command. In a similar fashion, maybe we can have, just copy and paste this as show inventory. Maybe you're going to have an inventory in your game. Okay, so up here, var inventory equals, right? Equals nothing at the moment. Now, instead of here are your possible commands, you can just simply put, here is your inventory. Right? Instead of looking at the commands array, we can be looking at the inventory array. And instead of looking at commands I, we're going to look at inventory I. Okay, now there's one thing. If your inventory is empty, then logically we don't want to say here is your inventory, nothing. It'd be better if we instead did this. If inventory is equal to, inventory.length is equal to 0, what we're going to do is we are going to append to the game text, you are not carrying anything. Okay? Yeah? And to stop this, what we could do is we could do else, and then put this text into here, and that would work just fine, okay? That would be perfect, but I don't really like wrapping everything in the else because it just makes it a bit messier. Instead, what we're going to do is we're just going to return. What return does is basically exits that function. It just marks it as complete, you could say, okay? So it won't execute anything past return. So if inventory.length equals 0, then it won't execute past this point. It will just stop after it appends this. So let's have a look again. Refresh. I think actually, hold on. Well, obviously what I need to do as well, is add here, confusion, inventory, right? And then show inventory. So if we type in inventory, it's going to show us this, right? Refresh. Let's go here, inventory. You are not carrying anything, okay? To prove the point that it's going to work, though I'm sure you believe me. You can add sword, shield, save, refresh. Inventory. Here is your inventory, sword, shield, okay? And let me see, and obviously commands, instead of look, inventory, okay? The reason why I did that is so that if someone is actually playing the game and they type in help, it's going to list go pick up inventory. So we haven't implemented pickup, nor we have implemented talk, but go and inventory will work. Go north, go east, check your inventory. Let's get rid of this, okay? So this is kind of a bit annoying. When you're playing, when you're typing fast, when we enter, you notice this text here, it is not disappearing. It's just staying there after we press enter. So there's something very easy we can do is, let me see. So here we've put value equals this is the value of user input, okay? So directly after we store it in that variable, what we could do is then do this. User input.value. Now remember I said this is accessing the value. We can set it, I believe, to have, we can set it to nothing. I think this is how we do this. If not, then we're going to have a trip to Stack Overflow. But go north. Okay, excellent. There we go. So let me explain what I just did there. Here, okay, we put the user input.value, we put that into the value variable. Okay, so it's made a copy of that information. And then we have erased the text box, and then we pass this value here. Now, if you do this, okay, user input value 0, and then you try to store the user input.value into the value, you're going to store 0. You're going to store nothing, okay? Because you've set it like that. That's exactly what the computer is doing, exactly what you have told it to do. So instead, what you want to do is make a copy of it, and then we can delete the data from value, okay? Okay, so, I mean, this is looking more and more like a game. We've come a long way since explaining how to, where to get a text editor from and download jQuery, right? So, right now, player input, we get a command, okay? And if the command is, for example, go, and then we want a second command to it, then we look it up by going input.split 1, okay? So what you could implement is you could have, okay, we have inventory. How about you have an examine command where you go to your rooms, okay, and you have here, you can put in items for that room, okay? So you can have a examine room function, okay? It looks at the current room, looks at the items, and you can say, you look around the room and you see blah, 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 okay? So it could be something like, it could be like a bit of a clue. So you could have, we could have items, right? And an object. And we could have sword. And here you could have the description of the sword. So you could have, for example, you see a shimmering light in the bush. In a bush. Right? So what we can do is display you see a shimmering light in the bush to the user when they put examine, right? However, we're not going to tell them what it is. So what you could do is examine, and you give them a description, and then when they put pick up, they can guess what the object is. So pick up, okay, shimmering light in the bush. Pick up necklace, invalid command. Pick up shield, invalid command. Pick up sword. Okay, you have picked up sword. Okay, that would be a very useful thing. What else can we do? How about instead of items in the rooms, you can have NPCs. So if we look, we look here. A strange old lady opens the door. What do? You can have here NPCs, right? Object. Old lady, right? Or old lady even. And here you could have her text, okay, description. The old lady emits a strange noise and attacks you. For example, okay, something like that. That would work nicely. Let me see any other ideas I can think of for you guys. Not that I know of. Now, I'd like to reiterate, this is not the best way to do a text adventure. Probably a better way would be to do it object-orientated in the sense of having, you'd have a room class, and you would have, each room has its own description. So you would separate this, instead of having it all into an object, you would create a new object, a new class or something like that. So the rooms can be bigger and more flexible. However, this works, and as a beginner exercise, I think you can really expand that. So I would say homework for this would be definitely try to implement the items that I said, and try to implement some way of talking to the character, okay? Talking to the NPCs that are in that room. And again, always return invalid command if that is not the case, which with the infrastructure I've given you, this would be very easy to do because you can check for the commands, and then when you go to the next function, you can just say, for example, here, if it is a valid parameter, okay, so here you've checked if it's a valid command. If it's a valid parameter, then you handle it. If not, then you can put an error message. For example, imagine this is talk, the talk function, yeah, and it takes in the NPC's name that you're looking for. If it is the NPC does not exist, you can just say here else you talk to nobody. Okay, but if it does exist, then you can handle it. You can do maybe if maybe there's more than one NPC, you can have like a switch, NPC switch, old lady, and you can have the old lady speak to you. You can have the troll speak to you, etc. Okay. Now, I maybe out of different ideas, and I really hope you have learned something from this, and I hope that it's not been too confusing. I'm going to put this code, I'm going to make it available on GitHub. You can find that in the description. If you do go ahead and make something with this, please let me know. You can find me on Twitter. I'll put my Twitter in the description. And I would love to see what you can do. Really, all it would take with this this foundation here, it just takes some dedication and some thought into the story, etc. Okay. So again, I hope you have built something. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Take care.